Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Every Arkansas podcast. I'm Drew Davis, and this week we've got my friend Paul Kroger. Paul leads an organization called Vine and Village. It's truly the heart of what the church should be going after. We hope you enjoy. Paul Kroger, it's an honor to have you today on the Every Arkansas podcast, and you're one of those guys who's been out there, and I look at you and I think a lot of myself because you're not just doing one thing. Vine and Village is really kind of a conglomeration of a lot of things. But before we jump into that, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up full-time profession of chasing after your God-given dream?
Wow. There's a story. Yeah. Hey, Drew, it's really great to be here with you today. What a well-kept secret. Hopefully that's not the case for long as your audience expands. Well, I grew up in Nebraska. I'm a farm boy. And my dad's dream was that all of the kids, there were 6 of us, would come back and be a part of the family farm. And so I went to the University of Nebraska. This was back in the 70s. Got my undergraduate degree in agriculture and education. Came back then to the family farm. But I had encountered not just the risen Savior. I'd met him earlier in my life, but I began to really grow in my spiritual life when I was in my college years. There was an organization that I came across called Campus Crusade for Christ within my first week of being on a college campus, which, by the way, was a huge answer of prayer because I was concerned, and other Christian friends that I had that were concerned, that I wouldn't go to a Bible college, but I would actually go to this kind of heathen university. And yet I found a culture of people that were so in love with Jesus Christ. And so through that experience and other Christian groups on campus, but primarily what's now called Cru, but it was Campus Crusade for Christ at the time, my trajectory in spiritual growth just went up immensely. And so what I found there is that I really wanted to invest my life in the lives of others, be a part of the Great Commission, that whole concept of having a transcendent view of life, a purpose for life that was born at that time. So went back, was part of our family business, volunteered in our junior high and high school ministry at church, led that, had a Bible study in my home, but starting a new business, a lot of things. I just had Sunday was my only day to really focus on ministry, and that wasn't enough. I needed more training. I wanted to move on beyond that. And so after a couple of years, I really sought out the next step in my life. And through a series of events that just the way God weaves in life, I met a gentleman, his name is Dennis Rainey. And Dennis was starting and had been a part of a new ministry called Family Life, which of course now is a nationally and internationally highly regarded ministry. But because of that brought me here to Little Rock in 1981. And so I've had a variety of experiences, 11 years with Family Life, which were fabulous years, just grew a ton. Got involved with a local church here, which was also on a very steep upward trajectory at the time. God's just placed me, whether it was in our business, whether it was in ministry environments, in high growth, high performing kinds of organizations. And it's really not me. It's just God has placed me in a spot where I've been able to be close to things like that. But my heart has continued to be helping people get connected with Christ, be able to grow in their faith. And that's lived out in a variety of ways. So on this journey, I had a chance to also then spend 5 years as the president of an organization called Career Impact Ministries, which was located here in Little Rock, and had a chance to write and speak all over the country and internationally on how you could put Christ at the center of your workday, which was kind of doubling back for me back to the late 70s when I graduated from college to say, how could I really integrate my faith into what the workplace was like? And that was a great theological study. It was so fun to be able to talk to other people about how to do that. And then God opened the door for me to be a children's pastor at a church here locally for 12 and a half years. and tremendous growth in the midst of that. And then to move on to helping people along that journey for the last 21 years with sports and children's sports and having an outreach in that regard. And all of that kind of simultaneously then connected back with Mosaic Church a little over 6 years ago, and an organization that they had started, a community development organization called Vine and Village, which is an umbrella for a lot of different programs, 10 currently, that are really focused on meeting the needs of people that primarily live within the university district, which is also 72204, that zip code.
It's funny that you bring up Campus Crusade, because Bill Bright was an influence in my life.
Come on, man.
I mean, guys like David English.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know David.
Sure I do.
He and I have done a lot of stuff together that's crazy. And then Steve Shadrack that started Stumo.
Totally.
Then the whole Dawson Trotman movement with the Navs and all those things were just really inspirational in me from just, I mean, Bill Bright was an amazing man who saw Dennis Rainey and saw a light and said, you know what, it's not about me and building up crew. It's about the kingdom, and allowed him to step out and do what he did. And hundreds of other organizations that came about because one man followed after God and said, hey, it's cool. Just do it. We're going to support you. We're going to make this work. And so,
yeah, part of the genius behind that goes back to an incredibly well-known person by the name of Jesus Christ. Okay. He saw the need to be able to empower others to carry on the work, and Bill has done that. Other people, Bill Bright has done that. Many other people have done that. And what a model that is to say, it's not about me. It's about the kingdom. It's about the work of the Savior. And so how do we do that? That it works in an exponential way to where we're leveraging all of the gifts and talents of so many people out there. And we don't have to be in the limelight.
Exactly.
We can be back and employing our gifts and skills, whatever they are, occasionally maybe out front like this moment today, but it's helping other people really be a part of just maximizing their gifts and resources.
And it's been such a blessing because I've gotten to kind of work with your pastor a little bit over the years and my pastor, Rick Bazette, and both of those guys have a passion for the local church, not for their church. They're passionate about their church, don't get me wrong, but it's never been about them. And so Vine and Village is an offshoot that was the outreach arm of Mosaic Church, but it's way beyond Mosaic Church. So just kind of share with us a little bit about the heart behind what's been created there.
Well, in 2008, there was a young man who had finished with his master's degree in social work, and he was interested in doing something within the lives of older teens, young adults that were coming out of the foster care system. And of course, his name is Eric Gilmore. Eric had this vision for what's now called Immerse Arkansas. And so he began to have these conversations with Mark DeMoss about what that may look like, and maybe somewhere down the line, he needed a job, he needed income, support his family and all that sort of thing. But maybe sometime God would bring that to fruition. Well, Mark just said, like visionary leaders do so often, why don't you start now? What's stopping you? Well, how about money? How about providing for my family? And Mark's like, can you trust God for that? And so Eric started this journey. That was the kind of the impetus of what then became Vine and Village. So in 2010, Vine and Village actually became a nonprofit organization, and with the concept of helping take people like Eric that had a passion for some particular area of ministry, a niche that fit within our community, our backyard, that would help advance the kingdom, meet the social needs of people, economic development side, but again, three kind of components that were about the social component, just obvious needs that people have. It could be food, clothing, education, housing, on and on. The economic needs, how do you help take people that don't have a job and that need a job, want a job? How do you take people that are underemployed and help them get a better job? And how do you help the whole neighborhood, the whole zip code be elevated when it comes to opportunity. And so that takes a much bigger view of what businesses are brought in, job creation, and all the rest of it, which is another fun story. But that's a part of just kind of thinking about our neighborhood through Vine and Village. But then it's been finding other people like Eric that had a passion. And maybe it was for something like, in a more recent way, we have a chess club. We call it CPR Chess. It's an acronym for chess, problem solving, and reading. And so here's a woman who's finishing up after a successful career with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And she's saying, man, I'm healthy. I got lots of years left. I would love to do something within the elementary years, and maybe should God even lead beyond to help them in those areas of critical thinking and problem solving, reading, etc. And but she'd never played chess, but she'd read that was really something that you could use. And you know what?
I teach it, but I've never played it. So.
Yeah, seriously. And yet, because she was a woman of vision, and really sensed God leading her down that path, she was faithful to move a step at a time. And now it's the largest chess club in the city. I mean, we have a branch in Pine Bluff that we've opened, and we've connected with the Little Rock School District and what they're doing in the area of chess and growing the whole concept of chess for children. And now it's moved into junior high and high schools. And so it's many different programs like that. Teen moms, the same kind of thing. Arkansas has the highest teenage pregnancy rate of any other state in the nation. And so it's addressing that. We have the only teen MOPS group that's in the state. MOPS, of course, is an acronym for Mothers of Preschoolers. Food insecurity, immigration, homelessness, mentoring, helping kids that don't have a vision for living in anything other than poverty, develop a vision for that, and how they can move from that to something that would actually give them an opportunity in life to improve their financial stability and relational stability. And I don't know, we could talk for so long, but yes.
And what's exciting to me is that's what the role of the local church is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be investing in the local businesses. You look at the Jewish communities around this country, they got it. They understood it, and they said, hey, we're going to build up our economic base and become something. And you look at some of the crises that are going on with kids growing up without fathers or whatever, but a teen parent. And especially in our neighborhoods where we look at it, we're like, 16, you become your mom, you're 32, you're a grandparent, you're 48, you're a great-grandparent. It's a wonder how in the world these kids are surviving, because even the great-grandparents really never got to learn some of those lessons of how to raise kids. But it's the local church coming with the solution versus the government. And so that's just encouraging to me. And one of the ones you mentioned earlier, and you just kind of skimmed over it in this, was immigration. And that's a hot topic right now. And unfortunately, with a lot of the church, it's a deunifying topic.
Yeah, it's divisive.
But why?
Yeah.
Why have y'all chosen that one? I think that's one of those things that.
Well, I just have to say, I wish we were smart enough to choose it, Drew, but we're not. But God is. God had a gentleman come along who had been raised in South America, who is Caucasian but spoke fluent Spanish and had been involved with the immigration process. And so grew up as a missionary kid, but he had that background too. And he said he would like to begin, again, passion, leader, would like to help people within our neighborhood or, slightly beyond our neighborhood, navigate that complicated immigration process. So along with a board, which included an attorney, and just, he found that you could do as a layperson, because he's not an attorney, a whole lot of the process that's involved with helping people with their documentation and go through that naturalization process. And so that passion has turned into now a ministry that's a program under Vine and Village. It's called Evangelical Association for Immigration Service. They've helped nearly 8,000 people go through the process. At any given point in time, we have at least 400 open folios on people that we're working with that are somewhere in that process. And get this, I know this sounds like it's unbelievable, but it's all done pro bono. Okay, so if you're going to an attorney and you employ their services, by the way, if you're an attorney and you're watching out there and you help with immigration, more power to you. Okay, we're all for you, but many people can't afford it. And when you're talking about a family and you've got several family members and maybe some extended family members, it becomes an extremely, it's just a huge obstacle to get over. So you've got money, which is an obstacle. You've got, can I trust this person, which is huge. And then you've got a language barrier. So, when you take those and you remove those, all of a sudden you find that you've got a floodgate to be able to address the needs of people. All right, so I'm not going to speak at the moment here about immigration and how we should handle it, but I know there's a lot of wonderful people that aren't documented that are in the U.S. and that need assistance because they would be wonderful citizens, neighbors, lovely people. So let's help them become documented, do it all in a legal fashion, but let's do it in a way that meets their needs financially, linguistically. Yeah.
I think it's also an amazing thing because we don't have to go to their country to do missions to them. They're coming to us.
It's so true.
And it's oftentimes so disappointing to me the way we look at some of this stuff, because it's like we forget how blessed we are in this country that people want to get here. And then when some of them get here, we've got a gentleman that runs all of our youth programs, and he's German, born and raised in Germany, married an American, came over here on a religious visa and got married and started the process. And not long ago, some of his paperwork kind of got out of whack. And so it's like they told him to renew his paperwork. It's going to be 18 months before he would have this renewed. He couldn't get his driver's license renewed, all these other things.
Yeah.
And it's like he literally said, I can't drive anymore. I can't do this anymore. And this fear came over him.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think we as Americans who have the privileges we have ever felt that kind of fear. When all that he's trying to do is what God called him to do. And so it's what you guys are doing is amazing, because as a church, I think we've kind of got in a bad place as to how we feel about that. And when we really look at it, Jesus came as a Jew, reaching out to the Jews, and took us in as Gentiles. We weren't the chosen people. We were the aliens. We were the ones that were kind of invading their space. We were the ones standing on the outskirts of the temple, wanting to look in and see what was being taught. And it's just, to me, that's the local church. And that's just so encouraging.
Well, Drew, almost every day, I sense that I'm an outsider. I'm an outsider ethnically with many of the people I work with, culturally, the people I work with. I understand that because I'm a Gentile, that I wasn't, by the grace of God, grafted in to God's plan for redeeming mankind. I'm really clearly, that's in front of me every day. I'm acutely aware of that. And so I say I have a huge heart for people worldwide, but I also have a huge appreciation for Romans 13 and for submitting ourselves to the governing authorities, for doing things properly and doing things legally. And so I think the beauty of the church, again, is being able to step into that space and provide a safety net and provide a conduit and a path to help people become legal, not to stay,
Right.
in a place where they're not documented, but to do everything that we can to come alongside and to assist in that process. And that's part of the privilege. I can tell you a story about, there's a mom and son that I met about a month ago that are not from the US, that are here and that are needing to have the proper kind of documentation. But the story and the backstory with some people, we don't typically on the news, we don't typically get this. All right, so here she's a successful architect in a different country, and she's being exploited because her son, his life is being used in a way that kind of, again, is ransom, to where she has to pay $5,000 a month or they'll kill him. And so how do you live like that? How do you live like, we cannot relate, most of us can't, within America, to a story like that. And so they fled to the US, okay? And so they're looking for an opportunity to start a new life. So let's help them do that, do it legally, and in the same time, love them, bring them into, like the church should do. It's just story after story of people like that God's, I think, called us to be a part of reaching them in a way that they don't become a number. They're a face, they're a story, they're a person that has every right to succeed in life.
One of the stories kind of you shared before this, I'm horrible with names, the De Jesus family?
De Jesus.
Do you want to tell their story here?
Yeah, they were a part of the hurricane in Florida, and kind of the destruction that had happened there, and lost their home and had to kind of restart. Young couple, young family. And so not being able to find the kind of work they needed, they had come to the state of Arkansas because they had gotten a contact here that was a contractor in construction work. When he got here, he found out that the job didn't materialize. So they've got everything on the line, left everything they had in Florida. They come here and they end up hearing about our food distribution service called The Orchard. And so they show up saying, essentially, I just need food for my kids. I mean, the mom was saying, I don't even need food for myself. My kids are starving. And can you help? And of course, we're like, absolutely. We've got lots of food here. And so our ability to just provide groceries for them opened the door to then a relationship with them. And so, again, there's lots of stories of people that are homeless and people that do manipulate the system with us. And yet that's just the nature of it. We're not judging people. We're offering the hope that comes with meal, with food, with amazing amount of groceries. I mean, we serve over 19,000 people free groceries that live within the university district. That's over half of the population base that live there. Is that not amazing?
Absolutely.
Amazing. But in the meantime, this family was so incredibly grateful that we would be a part of just helping kind of bridge where they were at. Fortunately, he was able to find a job right away, but it takes a couple of weeks generally before you get paid. And so when you have little kids and whatnot, they don't quite understand the fact that, we got a couple of weeks, we'll get paid. By the way, we have no credit. We have nothing to, how do we live?
Right.
It just bridges them. Yeah.
I mean, I'm always just guilty because when I was growing up, it's like, why didn't that homeless guy just get a job? I mean, it's the solution, but it's way more than that. And it's having people come around you and says, okay, let's take care of this food need, let's take care of this clothing need, but where are you going to stay? And then you get that first paycheck. You still don't have what it takes to set up a house, to start doing life. And those relationships that can walk you through all those doors are so important. And I think that's one of the things that really, with your pastor, really just made me start to see how great he was as he got the relationships.
Let me tell you a story about him too. Mark, if you're watching this, I'm just saying, I hope this is okay for me to tell this story. Okay. Because this is just an extension of who he is. It's a day where we're offering food, which, by the way, we give away food every day. But in a major way, Tuesday is the day that we have the orchard, and then also we have our mobile market, our mobile pantry. It's called Fresh to You, which is running on top of that, but it's going and it's delivering to people that live primarily in HUD housing apartment. We serve all of them in Little Rock. But anyhow, it's a rainy day. It's nasty. Person comes and they want some food. It's late in the day. We're done. We're closing up shop and everything. And this guy, when he knocks on the door, he's just saying, man, I am freezing out here and I don't have any socks. And so at that moment in time, we had closed down our clothing closet. So we really didn't have anything to give him. So Mark, just without thinking about it, takes your shoes off, takes your socks off, so go, here you go, man. And that's just an extension of the heart, and so you got to love it when people, it's not just lip service,
right?
It's living it out. And I think that's, again, what separates, the body of Christ to say, I'm serious about this. Would you open the doors of your home? Over the last several years, we've had 4 homeless guys live with us. And, I met with my kids before this all happened and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking about. And so we had this little family meeting, and what do you think? And, they're kind of hesitant a little bit. My youngest guys at the time were like maybe 14 and 16, something like that. And they said, Dad, really our only stipulation is that if we feel like we can take him. And I said, okay, let's just step back just a moment. What does that mean? Yeah, so if we feel like we can overpower him, then we can do it. And I said, okay, so I got to look for somebody who I feel like is relatively feeble when it comes to. So anyhow, we had our first guy come, and it was such a great experience. And then he rolled off, and then we had another guy come, and then we had another guy come. And then our last guy that we've had, he was like, he could have been a professional football player, linebacker, maybe defensive tackle. Yeah, really big guy. Okay, but by that time, they dropped all that, because they had the infection of what it means to have an opportunity to give a bedroom that's empty in our home to somebody who doesn't have a house, and what it means to just help them learn to read, help them learn to navigate life in ways that you and I just take for granted.
Oh,
praise God for our parents, for others that have impressed that on mentors in life. Yeah, so we've had them from 13 to into their 50s. Yeah, and same kind of lessons, but what a beautiful thing. People can help in so many different ways.
Oh,
you may not choose to do that. That's fine. But what's God calling you to do? Take your socks off, open your home. What's he calling you to do?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things so many people, they get caught up in what's God calling me to do? Well, what's in front of you?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, there's a guy needs socks. He's right in front of me. Okay, God, do you want me to give socks? Do you want him to have? I think God would like that. Let's honor God with where we are versus worrying about some big picture type scenario. I mean, I think Jesus was this small little acts of kindness kind of Jesus. It was just amazing to me. It's kind of like, oh, they were hungry. Let's feed them. Mm-hmm. Oh, he needs healing. Let's heal him. I mean, now, he did do a few weird things.
He did some
spitting in some people's eyes or whatever. I mean,
miraculous things.
He's lucky some 14-year-old didn't try to take him. But I mean, it's amazing to me the opportunities that are out there if we just open our eyes to God and say, God, how do you want to use me?
Yeah. Hey, let me just give you a little segue here too to something else in my life, and that is that I've been a part of having children's sports leagues for 21 years. And when I first started doing soccer 11 years ago, a little back up a little bit, like Georgia Morris, my friend who does chess club, I'd never played soccer, okay? But I didn't have to know how to play soccer. I knew people that did, Okay. And it's opened the door for an entirely new opportunity of connection with people, primarily that are internationals.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me a chance to be able to talk about how integral faith can be. And by the way, not just any faith, but
Mm-hmm.
Christianity can
Right.
be, how Jesus really did live, how the Bible truly is what it's purported to be, and that's the truth of God. And so it just gives me a platform. When God gives you a passion, it may not seem like it fits. You don't play a musical instrument, but you're somehow orchestrating the concerts and the opportunities for people that do,
Mm-hmm.
and you're maybe behind the scenes on that, but you're bringing a sense of pleasure and movement of the Spirit of God into the lives of people because you love music, even though you're maybe not a musician. Yeah.
Definitely not a musician here. So. But this has been a blessing, and I'm so thankful that you were kind of obedient to God and said, okay, God, what's next? And stepped into this role at Vine and Village and are leading them strong. Because I know Eric Gilmore. Sarah Smith, that crew, they're strong.
Yeah.
And then y'all's Teen Mops program is notorious all around the downtown area. About
seriously amazing.
There's not a better program, let alone it's the only program that caters to that specific need.
Yeah.
So we are so thankful for you guys. If someone wants to kind of jump in with any of the many ministries of Vine and Village, what's the best kind of central point of contact for them?
Yeah, the best connector would just be to send me an email. You can always go to our website, which is vineandvillage.org. Now, it's not Vine ampersand Village, it's Vine and village.org. Okay, so you can start there, or you can just simply give me an email at paul@vineandvillage.org, and we'll be on your back. Yeah. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and just sharing your heart for how God's kind of been that critical element in chasing after your God-given dream. So
yeah, great to be here.
Wow, Paul's story is amazing. This is a man who's chased after his God-given dream for years, realizing that all those dreams surmise with Jesus. It's all about chasing Jesus. So we're so excited to have shared with you Vine and Village, their hope for the local church, to help the local church be relevant and to help you chase your God-given dream.